Okay, so here we go now with my agenda coming up. And there, it calls for Bill Kelly, and I'm sitting over there like, what? Here we go.
Let's vote. B, discussion of city drains responsibilities on Seaview Terrace, and we have Bill here tonight to talk to us about that.
Good evening for everybody either here or at home. My name is Bill Kelly. I'm the city attorney. I was asked to take a look at the Seaview Terrace drainage issue regarding what I understand is a course of stream or drainage swale behind Ms. Allen's house. I've never met her before, so hello. And what I've done is gone through the records that I could find here in the city. I will say that as a matter of disclaimer, it's not surprising that it took some time for some records to find the light of day, because they are 40 and 50-year-old records are not kept in a single place. We have different departments, and that's why I made the rounds of a variety of departments, including the assessor's office, the code enforcement officer's office, the planning office, the highway department, as well as the city manager's office. I looked at aerial photography, the surveys from 1965, 1966, the deed into the city for Seaview Terrace from 1965. I looked at the floodplain maps, which demonstrate that for quite some period of time, 30 or 40 years now, it's clear that Seaview Terrace and where Ms. Allen's home is in the middle of a floodplain course that, as she's described, starts up on higher land, up by Captain Albert Stevens and the Robertson School, and then flows through what I do believe is a natural course of floodplain, right down across the back of several properties on Seaview Terrace, across Northport Avenue, underneath the hospital property, and then out City Park. So the point there is, it is the aerial photography since at least 1939, which is what we have, which is very good photography, better than more current photography, clearly shows the existence of this drainage floodplain. I also spoke with Bob Richards, Bob Whiteley, Wayne Marshall, and Joe Slocum, and I will say that my conclusion is that I don't find that there's any evidence that the city of Belfast has the control, maintenance, repair, or any responsibility for the swale behind the property of Ms. Allen.
Of course not. You're an attorney, for Christ's sakes. Did he even come to my house and look at it? Is he even referencing any of the mapping that I did or any of the culverts showing that it's not a natural flow? Or the original development plans that show there was never a natural stream there? The 1939 maps, which are on my blog, show that there was never a stream running through there. It was a flat floodplain farm.
It appears that at some point in 65 to 70-ish, when the development occurred, the swale was very well denoted on the subdivision plans, but it was much closer to Seaview Terrace than it is now. In scaling off some aerial photography, for what it's worth, the stream appears to have been pushed back about 35 or 40 feet from Seaview Terrace, and in the location that it now appears to be in.
Okay, big boy Bill. So, for kicks and giggles, let's say that was a stream, that ditch that was dug to allow for runoff from the McLeod Trailer Park in Route 1. As soon as you move anything with heavy equipment, it is not natural anymore. It is not a natural outlet.
It appears to me that it has always been, at least from 65 on, as well as 1939, looking at those aerial photographs, it's been on the property that Ms. Allen purchased. So it's not a new development. Everything old is new again. I am significantly influenced. I have provided a letter to the city council, but in 1987, an engineer was hired by the city to look at complaints of water and rainwater drainage on Seaview Terrace.
Now, I asked for the full history and development of Seaview Terrace. These documents from this engineer were never forthcoming. This is the first I'm hearing about it in this meeting. And Dr. Caswell was the original owner of my house. He was the one that requested it because he had the water coming into his house in the 70s. I think it started when Belfast Birches was built and compiled with the Route 1 runoff. So at the time when I said none of the residents were getting water into their basements in the 90s, that wasn't true. I didn't know that that this report existed because there was water coming into my basement way back then. Okay.
And various owner complaints were made back then by property owners Geary, Pooler, and a Dr. Caswell, who I understand is the predecessor and title to the Ms. Allen's property. And it seems to be the same sort of issues were reviewed back in 1987 by a consulting engineer by the name of A. Neil Finlayson. And there's a letter to Wilma Moses that says, the rainwater drainage problems which we investigated this morning on Seaview Terrace are primarily due to the overall topography of the land on which this development was built. In general, the land slopes downward from south to north across Seaview Terrace. In addition, there is a slope from the direction of Route 1 bypass downwards towards Northport Avenue. His conclusion is that the basic cause of the problems is the topography of the land which the owners bought.
Okay, now he skips right through it where the engineer says that the ditch is strictly a private property drainage ditch. I'm not giving this letter until I'm leaving the meeting, so I don't even know that it says that on there. And he totally ignores that. That's like a key piece of evidence to say that they're slaughtering us illegally with water.
He concludes by saying that all corrective actions involve private land and must be carried out by the owners themselves. The flooding problems that exist are inherent in the topography of the land which they bought. It has existed pretty much as it is now from the outset. He underlines this sentence: the problems are not due to any action by the city, and therefore not a direct city responsibility. I have to assume as well, I mean, his conclusions are essentially mine, that
I have to assume as well. And furthermore, this engineer is looking for the problem on Seaview Terrace, which is like looking, saying, oh, I got a bee sting on my hand. I wonder how that happened. While you have a friggin' beehive buzzing above your head, but you don't look up there to see that the bees are swarming down onto your hand, right? Saying that they can't find the reason for the flooding on Seaview Terrace because they're not looking outside of Seaview Terrace. And in 1987, not even a quarter of the development was put up yet to further send more water to us. This was just outrageous. I had asked him, like, what does 1987 have to do with now? And he runs out of the meeting. Jeez.
Back in 1987, which was a little closer to 1965 when the project was developed, that they also made some historical inquiry and came to the same conclusion I do. So that's the summary from a legal perspective. Policy issues are different. I can mention that the City Council, by state law, any legislative body, has the discretion to decide when and how and where drainage is installed at city expense on public land. The city has no right to improve private land, whether it's for drainage or any other reason.
And I just proved that they do that. So this is just so ridiculous, to use Mike Hurley's word. Bunch of hypocrites, liars.
So aside from the legal issues of not being able to find any control creation of this stream by the city, there is a prohibition of the city simply paying for people who own private land to have their land improved because of drainage. So those are the policy issues that are involved. As a final note, I understand that the Department of Environmental Protection did do a site visit along with the Planning and Code Office, and that this particular property does qualify for what would be a $65 permit by rule to allow the repair. In some of the emails I wasn't sure if perhaps some things...
They keep saying this as if it would just cost $65 to fix this. That's just to put in the application. Then you have to follow all their procedures for getting the bank stabilized, bringing in engineers, and I told you the one estimate I got was starting at $85,000 to stabilize that 150 feet that the city ripped away from me by sending me all that water.
Have been done at this point, but so there is a way forward. It's just a private solution as far as I can tell. And that's my report. Anybody has any questions?
Wait just a minute, Ms. Allen. Any questions for Bill?
No, at this time.
Nobody has questions.
Ms. Allen?
I question how 1987 comes into play with all the construction that's been done in the 90s with the Midcoast Mental Health and the VOA. I mean, weren't all those developments put in during the 90s?
I'm not in any way suggesting that there hasn't been development by and along this water course. I have no evidence that suggests that any drainage, nor did I look for any, was changed in any way from the natural course, merely because the property is developed, and does not, in my mind, suggest that the topography was so changed that the natural water course didn't remain the same. There might be an improvement on it now, but it's clear in looking at the USGIS maps, this is a significant floodplain over a significant area of the city.
But it's not natural when you're taking culverts and forcing the water to follow a path. I just said it's not natural when you're using culverts and forcing it. It's not following a natural path.
Well, I would say
Crossing roads going underneath White Street and picking up on the whole way down. So in 1987, those weren't present. So there wasn't even nearly the volume of water in 1987 that's flowing down my backyard that is now. So this doesn't seem to even...
Well, let me suggest this. I don't know, because it hasn't been my job to look at every culvert along the system, but I would suggest that the way, and White Street's been there before 1987, and I suspect the culvert's been there before 87, because...
No, Bob Whiteley said it was just put in 2010. Suggs.
This is a significant water course. But culverts are laid in where public roads cross natural water courses. They were there before the roads typically, and the roads are built over them. So where you see culverts, I suspect, as happens in most developments of most cities and towns, they simply put in a metal container for the water to flow under the road where there was a natural course prior to that. I don't think that means you get any more water. I think it means they put a road over it and they put a culvert system in so the road wouldn't wash away. That's my sense of it.
Well, Bob was saying that those culverts on White Street are fairly new. I mean, I can't get answers. I've been asking questions for 8 months trying to get some sense about what is happening here. And the more doors that are shutting on me, the more suspicious I become. And it's frightening that I can't get any help here. I moved here from New Jersey, specifically coming here into city lines for what the city offers, which is sewer and drainage, never thinking that my private property would be a free sewer for the city of Belfast, and for them to walk away and turn their heads and not claim any responsibility. So you're seeing that that stream was moved, and when it was moved, it was never stabilized. That's all just soil. All those boulders are piled up on the embankments. So every time now when that water comes down, it's just taking all that soil with it. There's nothing holding it back. And the permit by rule is just for the permit, $75. Do you know how much it would cost to stabilize that properly? I can't afford that. I never would have bought this property had I known this.
I understand your frustration, ma'am. The only thing I can suggest is what I've read. I looked at the material I saw, and I just looked at it objectively because if the city owns it, the city owns the problem. My opinion is it doesn't. I understand it's frustrating, but when you buy private property, you take what you buy. I don't have a better answer for you. I can't help you with any of your frustrations.
Who would think that the city would force stormwater down because they didn't want to build their own sewers? I mean, they could have went down Route 1 to the bypass and did it all on city-maintained property, but they sent it down to private property and turned their heads.
Well,
it's unethical. It's unbelievable.
Anybody else? Okay, thank you.
Oh, yeah, I just want to note for the record Anybody in the public can come and see this here in Belfast City Hall. We have a copy of these aerial maps that predate Seaview Terrace. You can see the stream that everybody's talking about.
You know, the 1939 maps are on my blog. Look at them. You can see there's no stream running through Seaview Terrace. There is a brook or a stream that's up by Congress Street that ran across over to Little River. It didn't come down our way. So, and these old maps, they don't even have any landmarks on it, so he's just going to show you a stream and say that that's it. And Seaview Terrace isn't anywhere near that.
Displayed in those aerial photographs before there was a road called Seaview Terrace, before there was a house on any road called Seaview Terrace. And the stream that's in those maps is the same stream that we see today. It may have been moved, but we have no indication whatsoever that the city of Belfast had anything to do with moving the stream on private property. And that's why we have not been willing to pay for it. I do acknowledge to Ms. Allen, and I think it's appropriate to acknowledge to you, that you did come in one day to the assessor's office. You did find a copy of a map in front of the assessor which showed your subdivision. That was a map I had repeatedly pursued and was told did not exist.
He's lying.
To the assessor, it was found that day.
He's lying.
Nobody has tried to hide records from you. And I just want to leave it at that.
Bob Whiteley is now retired. So this is why I can say this. He had told me afterwards that Joe almost had an aneurysm when he found out that he had showed me those maps. So Joe totally knew those maps existed and was keen on keeping them hidden. I mean, look at this man's face. He's so friggin' angry here.
But I apologize. I wish I had that record earlier. You would have had it earlier. But I never saw that record actually until after you saw it.
It was dated in the books. How come it was missing?
It was not located by either the assessor or by the director of planning. And I went looking for it.
Okay. So, no action to be taken?
No action.
Has this letter and letter from Neil Finlayson been provided to Miss Allen?
It has not.
It has not.
With a copy of it.
Another withheld document.
We're releasing the letter from Mr. Kelly?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Sure. He's talking about tonight.
Would have been nice to have had it.
Any more discussion on this? Seeing none, we'll move along then. Discussion on the future of the existing front entrance gate at Belfast.
That's it. Case closed. Well, that's what you think.